Okay, so this has got to work. I've been trying to do this all day. I've been on the phone back and forth with this person and that person, and hopefully we got this done. So I'm trying to go live about Black History Month. I saw a video the other day, which I'm going to play for you here in a few minutes, that basically shows us um, in the 1920s. And I really want you to listen to what the lady says and pay attention to um, the imagery that you're seeing because there's so many positives, and a lot of this we're just not seeing anymore. Um, when we see things happen, the Trayvon Martins and uh, Jesse that just happened the other day, we get upset, and people go and march and do all that stuff, but what are we really doing to affect our own community? And so I'd like to get to the bottom of that, and that's the reason for this video. So I'll get to the intro, and then we'll go right into the actual video.
And Oklahoma is a unique space in terms of the number of African American towns that were established. Some suggest upwards of 50 African American towns between 1924 and 1928. Reverend S.S. Jones was going around documenting this sort of self-determined, vibrant African American communities. You see the African American educators, doctors, lawyers, landowners, oil barons, and I think that's what's so remarkable about footage, to think that individuals, how many years out of slavery, are now owning oil wells that are producing 2,000 barrels a day. Is that not the ultimate American dream? Is that not the ultimate American story? It flies in the face of what I think some people consider part of African American history and culture. And I think that that was one of the things that Oklahoma and what S.S. Jones is really kind of showing, is that African American history and culture is not a monolith. And in a way, it became kind of like a marketing tool to encourage individuals to migrate, to move there, that this is a place where you can live, you can thrive, and peacefully reside. There were still palpable racial tensions. There are lynchings, there's Jim Crow, segregation, there's all of these things, and you still have an African American community, or many communities, that really speak to the fortitude and resilience of Black people in this country.
Rare 1920s footage, and that was the Smithsonian National Museum of African American Art. So, um, there are things that I want to find out about the way that we are and how we live today versus how we did then. Because I think that there is some type of mentality that we had then that is different than it is now. Um, and I'd like to get to the bottom of what it is and see if there's a way that us as a community we can come back to that place. Um, if you missed the video, I'll probably play it again maybe a little later. But I'd like to know if you guys have any thoughts as far as, um, you know, the video, first of all, and any opinions, anything. I see Craig, I see Stevan Vernon, and I see Latrice. All right. Well, my thoughts on this are there are definitely ways that I feel like we can, as a people, get back to this place, but it's going to take a lot of hard work. And, it's not just about fight for your right all the time. Sometimes we actually have to get in and apply ourselves. So, here one day, protest one day, and then back to regular everyday life is not seeming to work for us. I really feel like I'd like to have a discussion about this, and so anyone that wants to tune in, please feel free at any time. And of course, I'm gonna plug the book. Don't forget to go get this, Hustlers Wives: The Circle, on Amazon. I've finished editing both of the ebook and the regular book, so those should be available. The regular book should be available soon. The ebook should be already ready and available for you. So, what do you guys think, Latrice? Anybody? I'm gonna go ahead and log into my live here. Hey, Brian. Thank you for joining. I'm still live. I'm just waiting on a few more people to come on in. Yeah, there's a little bit of a lag. I can kind of see you guys and I guess it doesn't want to work today. My trusty phone never fails me when it comes to this. All right, there we go. Okay, so Black History. I see no one has an opinion. I'm waiting on y'all. This is live. Like, y'all are watching. I can see you here. I'm gonna wait on y'all because I can edit this out later. I can just sit and wait. Somebody's gonna come in. As long as the live is working. Let's see, I'm AAC format. I'm gonna watch the video again for those of you that missed it.
And Oklahoma is a unique space in terms of the number of African American towns that were established. Some suggest upwards of 50 African American towns between 1925 and 1928. Reverend S.S. Jones was going around documenting these sort of self-determined, vibrant African American communities. You see the African American educators, doctors, lawyers, landowners, oil barons, and I think that's what's so remarkable about this footage. to think that individuals, how many years of slavery, are now owning oil wells that are producing 2,000 barrels a day? Is that the ultimate American dream? Is that not the ultimate American story? It flies in the face of what I think some people consider part of African American history and culture. And I think that that's one of the things that Oklahoma and what S.S. Jones really kind of showing is that African American history and culture is not a monolith. And in a way, it became kind of like a marketing tool to encourage individuals to migrate, to move here. This is a place where you can live, you can thrive, and peacefully reside. There were still palpable racial tensions. There are lynchings, there's Jim Crow, segregation, there's all these things, and you still have an African American community, or many communities, that really speak to fortitude and resilience of Black people in this country.
All right, so what you just saw there was a video taken from the 1920s, and basically a document of, how people were living in certain cities in Black communities in the 1920s. Hey, Kel, and I'd really like to know how we as a people can get back to that place, a place of having a community, of our sense of community of our own. It's one thing for us, and I've said this several times, to fight the power. You got to fight the powers that be. You got to get in there and, you know, raise up your fist, and that all that is fine. But when we're done with that, we go home. And that's the end of it until the next time it happens. And I really think that that's something that we should stop doing. So I'd like to know how we can come up with solutions. I'd like to see us have our own hospitals, our own restaurants, our own farms, our own. We need those things. I saw a documentary the other day. It was a rapper. I think his name was Killer Mike or something like that. And somehow I never heard of him. But he did a challenge with his friend, who was also a bandmate of his. It was a white guy. And he dubbed him Black for 3 days. Funny story. And he decided that he was going to go 3 full days, 72 hours, buying only Black produced items. That means food, that means shelter, that means car, that means everything. He ended up sleeping on a park bench for 3 days and not eating. There was literally no, and this was in Georgia. There was literally no restaurant. There were Black owned restaurants, but the food did not come from Black owned farms. So he was like, I can't eat it. He can't get in a car. We don't manufacture any cars. He can't, he couldn't do anything. Like he literally, he couldn't eat. He couldn't go to sleep anywhere. There were no Black owned buildings that he could rent a room from in a hotel. So I'd like to see us change that, and the discussion really starts with us. What can we do as a people in order to change that around? If we had that type of community, I really feel like the things that we complain about now, the things that we're upset with now, the Trayvon Martins and the Jesse from Empire situations, would less likely happen because we'd have our own community that we felt the responsibility for. And until we get that, I really don't think that we can move past the things that are happening in society to us now as a people. So, any thoughts, any suggestions, any questions, any answers? And we are live. I am um, communicating with you real time. So, hi, Kel. Hi, Michael. Hi, Dominic and Latrice and Brian. you guys feel about segregation? Let's say if we did this today. This is just an example. I don't know if you guys can. Uh, I see you still here, so I let's just try this. It's a Friday night. This is a bad time to do this, but I'm still gonna do it every day for all of February. So y'all get used to seeing me live for all of February. Uh-huh. All right, let's see. All right, is segregation the answer? That's a good question. All right, so segregation, when you look at and you think about it, it means to separate, to be separated. And it sounds bad, but is it really? Um, I think that in a affluent, all black only community, it almost sounds kind of like the hood. Like we already have segregated communities. We still do. We've been duped into thinking that we don't, but if you go to certain neighborhoods, you will not see one face of any other race than that particular one. And it doesn't matter whether it's a black neighborhood, white neighborhood, whatever that neighborhood is, most of the time there's only one group of people there. So, with that being said, segregation I feel like is something that's already here. I think we need to just put it to use. It's not really enforced. So, okay, I see that. To me, it's not really enforced, but it's there. The community is segregated, whether it's forced or not. Um, so you have to realize if you go to certain boroughs in New York, if you go to certain projects in Los Angeles, and all over the country, Chicago, even smaller towns, you've got the neighborhoods where, regardless of what neighborhood it is, you go around the corner and you ain't supposed to be there. Either a police officer or one of the neighbors will let you know that you're not supposed to be there. So, in one way or another, they might just ask you, "What are you doing here?" Or it might be, "You ain't supposed to be here." Or it might be in the form of a ticket for driving while you're whatever color you are. So, yeah, I don't think that it's necessarily, no, I don't think it's enforced. Hey, Jason, thanks for joining. I'm talking about segregation. I played a quick video. If you'd like, I can play it again. I think enough new people have joined. Mm-hmm. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and play the video one more time, and give you an opportunity to see that. Hopefully you can see it and hear it. Give me just a second. Well,
And Oklahoma is a unique space in terms of the number of African American towns that were established. Some suggest upwards of 50 African American towns between 1924 and 1928. Reverend S.S. Jones was going around documenting this sort of self-determined, vibrant African American communities. You see the African American educators, doctors, lawyers, landowners, oil barons, and I think that was so remarkable about footage, to think that individuals, how many years out of slavery, are now owning oil wells that are producing 2,000 barrels a day. Is that not the ultimate American dream? Is that not the ultimate American story? It flies in the face of what I think some people consider part of African American history and culture. And I think that that was one of the things that Oklahoma and what S.S. Jones is really kind of showing, is that African American history and culture is not a monolith. And in a way, it became kind of like a marketing tool to encourage individuals to migrate, to move there, that this is a place where you can live, you can thrive, and peacefully reside. There were still palpable racial tensions. There are lynchings, there's Jim Crow, segregation, there's all of these things, and you still have an African American community, or many communities, that really speak to the fortitude and resilience of Black people in this country.